One of the major functions of a local control and accountability plan, which is commonly referred to as an LCAP, is to serve as an instrument by which LEAs, or local educational agencies, demonstrate how services for unduplicated students are being increased or improved relative to services provided to all students. This is accomplished in part by indicating for each action whether or not it contributes to meeting the increased or improved services requirement. Later, in the demonstration of increased or improved services for unduplicated pupils section of the LCAP template, which comes at the end of the LCAP, there is a space for an LEA to enter the percentage by which they are required to increase or improve services for unduplicated students. This percentage has often been referred to as the minimum proportionality percentage, or MPP for short. This is a term of art, not a technical term provided by statute or regulation. This percentage varies from one LEA to the next and is met by increasing services in quantity and/or improving services in quality for unduplicated students. This requirement to increase or improve services for unduplicated students will be more fully addressed in video number 25. When completing the electronic template, LEAs indicate that an action contributes to meeting the increased or improved services requirement by choosing Contributing. Likewise, an LEA indicates that an action does not contribute to meeting this requirement by choosing Not Contributing. This makes clear which services an LEA is counting toward meeting this requirement and which ones are not being counted toward meeting this requirement. In the printed LCAP, this information appears at the beginning of each planned action or service. An important requirement is that each action or service counted toward this requirement must be associated with at least one expenditure of LCFF funds. Other fund sources, for example Title I, Foster Youth Grant, etc., may also be associated with expenditures for these actions, as long as there is also an expenditure of LCFF funds. In the electronic template, if the Contributing button is clicked, an LEA will be presented with 3 follow-up questions about the students to be served, the scope of the service, and location of service. If the Not Contributing button is clicked, an LEA will be presented with just 2 follow-up questions about the students to be served and location of service. If an action contributes to meeting the increased or improved service requirement, it must be focused specifically toward English learners, low-income students, or foster youth. The action can serve 1, 2, or all 3 of these student groups. The students to be served is relative to the scope of services and locations. For example, an LEA might choose to provide a service to all unduplicated students, that is, check all 3 boxes, that is provided mainly to those unduplicated student groups at specific school sites or in specific grades. The scope of services indicates whether the action is a targeted service limited to serving the unduplicated student groups indicated, or if the service is accessible on an LEA-wide or school-wide basis. A service provided on an LEA-wide or school-wide basis that contributes to meeting the increased or improved services requirement must be justified as principally directed to and effective in meeting an LEA's goals for unduplicated students. The scope of services indicates whether the action is a targeted service limited to serving the unduplicated student groups indicated, or if the service is accessible on an LEA-wide or school-wide basis. A service provided on an LEA-wide or school-wide basis that contributes to meeting the increased or improved services requirement must be justified as principally directed and effective in meeting an LEA's goals for unduplicated students. So, for any action for which LEA-wide or school-wide is chosen, an LEA must include the required justification. This justification can be included in the description of the action within the LCAP goal or in the demonstration section at the end of the LCAP. To provide an action or service on an LEA-wide basis means that it upgrades the entire educational program of the LEA. Likewise, a school-wide service upgrades the entire educational program of the school. It is likely that such wide services will benefit most, if not all, students in the LEA or school, respectively. However, wide services count as an increase or improvement for unduplicated students only if these services are principally directed toward and effective in meeting the LEA's goals for its unduplicated students. For locations, choose the option that best describes the service. Notice that when filling out the e-template, when completing actions marked as not contributing, The options under Students to be Served are different than for those actions marked as contributing. Mark the appropriate option to indicate which student group or groups will most directly benefit from the services provided. For additional questions regarding the content of this video and other questions related to the development of the LCAP, please email lcff@cde.ca.gov or visit our website at www.cde.ca.gov.